bringing energy, bringing planning, and then of course, the execution. I'm very proud of what we've accomplished in the physical facilities around this place. I'm proud of the relationships we've developed within the community. When I came, I was told there was a lot of fracture there, and we worked hard at trying to reestablish better relationships within the community. And then I think if you look at the curriculum of the university, we're in a better place that curriculum-wise today than we were before, because we've engaged the faculty in the process.
Yeah, I went back and watched your investiture, and you made a comment that you were 13th president. Inaugurated was on the 13th day.
May 13th. Yeah. 13th president.
You spoke to some Chinese dignitaries, I guess, were on campus at that time, and they thought that was lucky. And then everyone else on 13 and 14. So
right.
So I thought that was fun, going back and rewatching that. But during your investiture, you had a guest speaker who made the comment, Morehead State has been the great creator of the middle class in Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that comment?
At the time when she said that, she was the Secretary of Education in Governor Fletcher's cabinet, a Morehead alum, with deep roots in the region, and she meant it very sincerely. And I really had to think about that. I mean, that's a bold statement, that Morehead State University helped to create the middle class in Eastern Kentucky. And so I've given a lot of attention to that thought through the years, because if you look at our alumni base, right now we've got an alumni population of about 60,000, a little more than 60,000. Of that number, a significant number of those folks are from Eastern Kentucky. A significant number. In fact, 6,700 still live in Eastern Kentucky. Still have deep roots there. 60% of our students at the university today still come from the 22 counties in Eastern Kentucky that we are to serve. So I believe it is a true statement. I can't go anywhere in the region that I don't bump into people and say, I graduated from Morehead State. Did you know Dr. Dorn? Or I get that's the most frequent question I'm asked. Did you know Dr. Dorn from the older alums? So they're bankers, they're physicians, they're lawyers, they're business leaders. They're people of, they're from every walk of life. And they're the people that have made a huge impact in our community. So I think it's a pretty true statement. It's a bold statement, but I think it's a pretty true statement.
You touched on this a little before, but what has Morehead State University meant to the people of Eastern Kentucky?
Its impact is immeasurable. I mean, we measure it in some ways, of course. The numbers of alums that are teachers in our public schools would be an example. Hundreds of them, literally, as we speak. The impact has been huge, absolutely huge. Morehead State has always had the reputation, I think, as a place that is willing to bring students that may be not as prepared as they would like to be, but they have the desire to get a higher education. And we have polished and buffed students through our history that have gone on to wonderful things. I mean, I could give you 50 examples of people that I've met that came to me and said, I didn't have much going when I left high school, but Morehead State University helped me to grow up, help educate me, and give me a good start. Two examples are the names of the individuals on the Space Science Building. Jim Booth from Inez in Martin County, and Elmer Smith from Inez in Martin County. Two men about the same age, one of whom, Jim Booth, went on to establish a very large, successful business as a coal operator, but he's branched out far beyond coal today. He owns hotels and convenience stores and just land, lots of things. He's been very successful. And he continues to live in Inez, Kentucky. And the other, Elmer Smith, who chose a different path. He is the owner of a private college in Atlanta that has been very, very successful. But the key to both of those men is they've never forgotten where they got their start. They both came from very humble beginnings, and they attribute a lot of their success to the start that they got here and the values that they had growing up in their homes and in their community, that hard work matters, that there's dignity to work, and have gone on to do great things, and they've never forgotten the place, and they've given back in a very large way to support this place. So those are just two examples, but I could cite many, many more. This place has had a huge impact. Think about programs like Upward Bound. You know, a program designed for kids that are kind of underprepared. You want to get them in the pipeline to think about college, and so you start working with them in middle grades all the way through. You bring them to campus in the summers. You try to get them to the place where they believe that college is a possibility for them. We've had thousands of young boys and girls go through Upward Bound as an example, and there are lots of other programs like that that we've shepherded here at Morehead State. So it's a big impact.
What do you feel Morehead would be, the town of Morehead, without this university? If this university, the normal school, was never here, what would this town be like today in 2015?
Well, that's actually, I'll give you the answer that a business professional who lives in Carter County gave me when I had lunch with him 4 or 5 years ago. We were sitting at the big table behind me having lunch talking about the university, and he said, Wayne, he said, let me tell you something. If it wasn't for Morehead State University, the town of Morehead would be like Olive Hill. And he lives in Carter County, and actually lives outside of Olive Hill. And so he wasn't saying that in a pejorative way. He was just saying it would just be a small town America in eastern Kentucky, and that's what it would be. So it's a huge, huge, huge impact. We employ today almost 1,200 people. We're the largest employer in Rowan County. And if you think just that alone is very, very significant. And then think about the cultural impact. You know, I occasionally hear students say, well, there's not much to do here. Well, there's a lot to do here if you get up out of your chair and you start looking around. So last night, for example, Sue and I went to a play that our theater students were putting on. It was a terrific play, 2-act play, Claiborne Park. It's really, really well done, poignant. You know, it's a takeoff on a Raisin in the Sun. Very, very meaningful play. Basketball games, musical events, lectures. We went to a lecture Monday evening that was very, very well done, and we went because we were interested in Asian issues. You know, we've been reading, like most people, I hope, about what's going on with the push and the tug with China and building islands, you know, in the, close to off their coast, and all that goes with that. Well, there was a guy from the Patterson School here Monday evening to lecture on the topic of East Asian security and what it means in the world today. That happens because we're a university. The presidential lecture series, we bring people in from all walks of life. So there's a lot here from a cultural standpoint that really makes this a vibrant place to live. Folks like to retire to places like this because there is a university here. We tend to be healthier, we tend to be happier, we tend to be more engaged civically. It's a big deal.
What's one positive thing you can say about the history and the future of Morehead State University?
Well, I think from an historical standpoint, we really care about people, and we care about our students. Very, very few complaints from students about how they're treated here. The most common things I hear from students is the faculty and the staff are really exceptional. They really care about the students. We're interested in student growth and development. And I think that idea, coupled with excellent academic programs, that's what's going to propel us and keep us healthy into the second half of the 21st century. We have to maintain a vibrancy of our academic programs. We've got to continue to hire the best and the brightest faculty in the disciplines for which we offer courses, because that's the heart of a university. Yeah, things are changing. You know, we're doing more online. All that stuff with blended instruction. We're hearing about MOOCs, these massively online. There's all that going on. But you know, at the end of the day, the faculty create those things, whatever they are. The faculty interact with students however they do it. So that quality experience for the student is the most important thing. And I think historically, that's something this university can take pride in. I don't believe there was ever a time in our history when that kind of it wasn't working, and I'm not aware of it. And I think today it's alive and well. Can we improve? Of course we can. There are always things you can do better. But I do think that's what has been essential, and that's what will propel us forward.
What's one lasting comment about the role Morehead State University has played to our region and our students and our community that you could add to the close?
Well, you know, looking to the future, I think we have a tremendous opportunity with this SOAR initiative that was begun by Representative Hal Rogers and Governor Steve Beshear. We've got some challenges in the region right now. We've always had challenges. I mean, if you go back historically, we were challenged because of the mountainous region, the inability of the people to easily traverse these mountains, and so all that went with it. And then, you know, being the hardy individuals that settled here, they used natural resources. So timber has always been important to us, and of course the fossil fuels that are mined here have always been important. But we have challenges today. We've lost, in the last 2 years, 9,000 coal mining jobs, and then of course there are even more when you look at the related support positions have been lost in the industry. So there's a really big challenge right now that we face. But what's the solution to that? The solution is to educate more people, and educate people specifically with the notion that they can become entrepreneurs themselves. I'm a believer in that. You know, given the technology that we have today, the SOAR initiative to establish broadband communication throughout the region in a very robust manner, there's no reason you can't live in Tomahawk, Kentucky, and you could be a world-class designer, and you can upload your stuff at night so some other world-class folks can work on it somewhere, and the next morning when you get back up, you can download files, and you could be sitting in your living room and doing that work. Now, that requires a different mindset about how we prepare students for the 21st century. It requires the mindset that, yeah, I might work for somebody. I might work for Valvoline, or I might work for St. Clair Regional Hospital or something, but it might also be, that's where I'm going to start. That's not where I want to be. I want my own business. So what am I good at? And what do I need to know to be able to run a business? I need to know a lot about business processes. I need to know about how you create and empower and work with other people, how you network, how you achieve some global interface through all this. That's what I think we can do for our service region going forward, and we've already begun that. In the College of Business, we've got an entrepreneurial approach going there. We opened the Launch Pad, which is a business incubator on Main Street in Morehead. We've gotten permission from Jim Booth and Elmer Smith, two guys I mentioned previously, to use money and endowments they've established here to hire a professor in this field of entrepreneurship. We've talked about infusing some of those ideas into all areas of the curriculum at the university. And then I think we've got to encourage the folks that come here to be willing to make a stake, to put a stake back in their home community. It might be difficult in the beginning because when you're losing jobs, it's hard to imagine a future in a place. But we've got to convince some of these young people, go back home. But go back home with an idea that you can put into practice, where you can start something that could have real appeal. When I was back at East Tennessee 15 years ago, we had a group of exceptional faculty in one of the programs in my department, and they were doing world-class design work, computer design work. And the whole group was bought out by a local entrepreneur, and they established a business in Johnson City. And the model that I used in kind of maybe an esoteric way is actually a real model. Those guys, and there were 4 guys working together, it's a bigger team now, they were doing all this really serious design work during the day in Johnson City, Tennessee, and they would upload that material, and folks around the world and other design teams would access it during the night. And by the next day, they'd get back more material to work on. That's a real example. And so those guys wanted to be in Johnson City. They were all from that region. They didn't want to move to Chicago or Atlanta or someplace else. Well, why can't we do that here? I believe we can. I don't know the exact kinds of businesses people might want to establish, but I know we've got a lot of smart people. We have no lack of brain power in Eastern Kentucky. In fact, we've got some very, very smart people. We just need to provide hope, opportunity, and education.
Well, Dr. Anderson, these are all the questions I've asked you, but I hope that hundreds of years from now, people look back on this project and see this and watch these work that Tanner and I have done on this. Was there anything you would like to add that maybe we haven't covered, or anything you feel would be a great addition to this project?
Well, yeah, first of all, I want to thank you for doing this. I mean, you and I talked about this early on and the significance of it. I think in the life of an institution, any institution, it's really valuable to capture the thoughts, the hopes, the aspirations of the people that work in a place, and to hear in our own words. I love to go back and look at videos from former times. President Kennedy, when he was talking about man going to the moon by the end of the decade, when he announced that in 1961. I mean, it was incredible. I remember that as a kid watching that, thinking, that's a bold statement. And by gosh, we did it, didn't we? It's unfortunate, the way the circumstances worked out for him, but we did it. And think about what that meant to our country. So many things we enjoy today, you can trace back to that decision, and the things that we had to improve and invent or to innovate that weren't even in place at the time. That's why this is important. For me, I'm just one brick in a panel on a wall, built on a foundation, rests on a footing that's been going since 1887. The way I've always thought about my job is I think of myself as a builder. I understand how to construct things. You got to plan well. You got to have a team that can help you execute. You got to use your resources wisely. Those principles are going to be true 50 years from now for whomever is the president of Morehead State University. They'll be faced with challenges, maybe different challenges than we have today that we can't even foresee. Hopefully, though, folks in the future will look back on this, and maybe there's a nugget, something that I've said or done, or that Dr. Eaglin said or did, or Dr. Grody, that would help somebody be reassured that even in tough times, in turbulent times, there's a lot of commonality in our business. And the commonality is the solution to all the problems we face here locally, regionally, statewide, nationally, and globally. All the solutions to the problems are rooted in education. And that's why what we do is relevant, and that's why it will always be relevant. Now, we may have to change some of that, the content or the process of how it's delivered, but education is the key. Frank Button and his mother Phoebe, when they came here, knew that to overcome the poverty and the ignorance that had spurred the Rowan County Wars in the third quarter of the 19th century was education. That was the light unto the mountain that established this place.
Yeah, great. You good there? I think we're good.
Well, I didn't last very long, Tanner.
Not too bad at all.
Huh?
Got a lot of good information.
You think it was decent?
I think it was
Did I compare favorably with the other presidents now?
Great, yeah.
Because I don't want to be number two.